Hey everybody, it's Amber Smalley. Today is February 22nd, 2017, and today I'm just going to talk to you about the Modified Wonders benchmark that Central Office put out as an EQT. I'm just going to give you some information today. So this went out from Miss Moore's office, from her wonderful secretary Joy, on Monday of this week, and it's true, you now have the option of giving the Modified Wonders benchmark EQT that you ordered from Print Shop or making your own EQT. And so the purpose of this video is just to give you the information needed to make a decision about whether to use the Modified Wonders benchmark that came from Central Office or to create your own EQT. Because we want you to make a good instructional decision, but in order to do that, you have to have all the information. Now, I want you to know that I really don't care if you use the EQT that was made by Central Office or if you make your own. I really don't care either way. I just want you to have the information so you can do what's best for you and for your kids. So, the Modified Wonders benchmark, if you do give it as the EQT, you can expect a bell curve in the students' grades. And that means that most of your students will score in that middle range. You probably won't have as many students in that A or AB range. You can actually expect that this test will be more reflective of your students' grade level ability on a high stakes test. So when you get those Aspire results back and you're flipping through and you see the kids who made the exceeding score, those kids will probably be the ones to make the A's. And it's not a bad thing that this makes a bell curve and it shows where the kids are in their grade level, because, you know, I've been in those parent conferences before where the parent has said, why is my child making A's and B's, but they're in need of support on Aspire. This would kind of help with that a little bit if that's a problem. And then some of you have expressed concern about the passages, about their complexity or level of rigor. And so just to see, I compared the Lexile levels of the passages in that Modified Wonders benchmark to the passages in the Aspire Sandbox. And at least one of the Aspire Sandbox passages in each grade level is on a higher Lexile level than the passages in the Modified Wonders benchmark assessment. Now, I will tell you that because of an agreement I made in the user agreement with Lexile, I cannot publish those Lexile levels, but I will tell you that the Aspire Sandbox passages are more complex than the ones on the Modified Wonders benchmark assessment. So if you take the Modified Wonders benchmark assessment, it'll probably be, as far as passages go, it'll probably be a good indicator. Now, with all that being said, if you choose to give the Modified Wonders benchmark assessment, the one that was made by Central Office, as your EQT grade, and your EQT grades turn out to be super low, there's no do-overs. Whatever grades you get, even if they're super low, are the ones that you get. You don't get to do any of them over. So we wanted you to know that up front. It is your decision. You can use the Wonders benchmark assessment as your EQT. You can make your own. It is totally up to you. And we won't know if the grades are going to be super low grades until we try. So whatever you choose to do is fine with us. It's totally up to you. Now, if you do not use the Modified Benchmark Assessment as an EQT grade, we highly recommend that you use it for Aspire practice. And if it were me as a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade teacher, I would give that test and I would set the timer for 70 minutes. Because if you've got students who cannot finish in that 70 minutes, that's a huge red flag for you. You're going to have to work with those kids on building their testing stamina before Aspire, because Aspire is only 60 minutes. And so that's a huge help to you to see which kids need extra testing stamina building to be ready for Aspire. And if you are using the modified benchmark assessment as practice, you still need to mark the test as if you are grading it, because that's going to give you a lot of information about how your kids would do on Aspire. So here's a couple of red flags to look for whether you're using the modified benchmark assessment as an EQT grade or as Aspire practice. When you see that test marked up, look for anything like the student's not speaking to the question. If they are giving an answer that's completely different than what the question's asking them, you probably need to work with those students on speaking to the question. If the students are not using those constructed response questions correctly, show them how they should have marked those constructed response answers. Sometimes the kids, they have the right answer, they just don't understand how to fill out the constructed response answer document correctly. And some students don't get what the question is asking because the constructed response is different. Look for those red flags once you've marked the test. And then whether you give the modified wonders benchmark as an EQT grade or for practice, once you've marked up that test, give the test back to your students and go over the answers. In my opinion, you should be going over all tests with students anyway. And I'm going to tell you, I think if you're not doing it, you're probably not going over tests with students because you don't feel like you have time. But trust me, if you start giving back tests and going over them with students, you'll never go back. You'll always go over tests with students. It does a couple of things for you. Before I started going over tests with students, I would just make these general statements like, a lot of you didn't put evidence on your test questions like you should have today, and that just totally went over the student's head. The students, they assume that they did put enough evidence unless they have that sheet of paper in front of them showing that they didn't. That test paper gets their attention so that they'll pay attention to their mistakes and they'll try to correct them. In the long run, it saves a lot of time because students aren't making the same mistakes over and over again. They're learning from their mistakes and moving on. So in my opinion, you should always go over tests with students. But in this case, it's especially important because this test is probably one of the closest things you're going to have to an Aspire testing environment. And with this particular one, you'll be able to go back over it with students so they can have misconceptions cleared up and they can correct mistakes, and you can work with kids on any problems that you see during that time. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me. I don't mind at all. Thank you so much for your patience throughout this process. We learn new things every day. And have a great rest of the day.